Good morning, and dear brothers and sisters. I always make clear, as a matter of fact, 7 billion human beings on this planet, mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. And most important, all sentient beings, particularly human beings, everyone wants happy life, do not want suffering. The suffering bound to happen. Then try to minimize. I think unlike other social animals or different mammals, we have this marvelous brain. So this brain, one way, very helpful. You see, to see things and analyze. So we have the ability through investigation, the knowing the reality. At the same time, because of this intelligence, sometimes we have too much expectation and too much desire. So that also causing more suffering. So our intelligence either good for peace of mind or destruction, destroy of peace of mind. So now here, education combined with moral principle. So education mainly related with the brain, so further develop the ability to know things through education. And then in order to, then that knowledge become more constructive, warm-heartedness, sense of responsibility, and a compassionate mind. So basically, all social animals, biologically, there's certain emotion which bring together, that is there, but that's limited. We human beings, because of this intelligence, combine warm-heartedness with intelligence, then we human beings have the ability to develop infinite altruism. So now education should combine with moral principle, warm-heartedness. When we talk moral principle, not necessarily based on religious faith, but scientific way, we can tell other people. Firstly, basic human nature, according to scientists, more compassionate. It is quite true. All 7 billion human beings, all come from their mother, all received immense affection from their parent and relative in general, particularly from mother. After birth, mainly mother, you see, if mother neglect, so not taking care, then within few days, the child die. So 7 billion human beings, we survived. So that shows we all received maximum affection, care from our mother. So that's beginning of our life. Then again, according to scientists, some scientists, they say constant anger, fear, actually eating our immune system. Whereas more compassionate mind bring inner strength, inner peace. So that's very good for our health. So on the basis of scientific finding, we can teach people. But these days I am telling, in education, usually you see including hygiene of physical. So now time come, in education field, we should include hygiene of emotion. So hygiene of physical, you see, bring us physical health and knowing how to take our physical health. The healthy body, but too much emotion sometimes become dangerous. I think too much emotion, people who have too much emotion, I think weak body is better. So hygiene of physical. You see, they bring the idea how to take care of my body. Meantime, hygiene of emotion also then provide us knowledge how to keep our peace of mind. Too much emotion, very bad for our health. And also too much emotion within the family, also problem. And within the community, also problem. In America, my first visit to America, I think 79. Some of my friend, I'm a couple, wife and children. Then after a few years, my second visit, another wife. He's quite sad. The previous wife with children, now divorced. Sad. Then another, after a few years, another my visit, third wife. So this also the sign of in the family some emotion problem there. So now in order to tackle emotion, in order to carry the hygiene of emotion, it is necessary to know the whole map of our emotion, our mind. I think Western world, I think Judeo-Christian tradition. So whenever we face some problem, we always believe God, pray to God, 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 God. Whereas in India, over 3,000 years, already so investigated, firstly, where is self? Then, when they investigate about self, the mind also include. Therefore, over 3,000 years, there's much research about mind, about emotion. Then the method to tackle these, usually in India we call meditation. There are two types, single-pointed meditation and analytical meditation. The single-pointed meditation is simply channelize mental energy, not scattered. Also they're focusing on particular point. So then Then the more important is analyze, analytical meditation. So Buddha himself, product of this tradition which practice single-pointed meditation and analytical meditation. So, now these originally come from religious tradition. But now we can take these things are academic subject, not religious thing. These are not for next life, or heaven, or hell, not necessary to meditation. So in order to achieve, or say the heaven, you need some training of our mind. So now you see here, these things simply try to tackle our mind so that this very life more peaceful, more harmony. So as I mentioned earlier, individual level, more peaceful. And family level, more harmonious. I think those young couple who just married recently, or in any way, you see, in order to achieve long-lasting, happy marriage, you should pay more attention about inner quality. Not only physical attraction, but deeper level, basic human, or city thinking. Each other knows deeper level, then your marriage will be long-lasting, happy marriage. So then one couple, or one family, 10 family, 100 family, that means community. So people pay more attention about our inner value and emphasis importance of genuine compassion. Here I want to mention genuine our love very much mixed with attachment. That's not good. So genuine love is sense of concern, of well-being of your enemy. As far as their attitude is concerned, they create trouble for you. So we consider our enemy. But they also human brothers, sisters. They also want happy life, do not want suffering. They also have the right. Therefore, sense of concern of their well-being. That is genuine love without attachment. Like that. So therefore, now here, according to Indian tradition, analytical meditation is analyze. So, I think over 3,000 years on ancient Indian tradition, there's Sankhya philosophy, then Jain philosophy, and then Buddhist philosophy. Mainly, these three very much emphasis analytical meditation. One of my Indian friend, nuclear physicist, now he no longer, his name is Rajaramana. Once he told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. But in India, over 2,600 years already developed that concept. And he has to recite some quotation of some ancient Indian scholars or masters. It's true. So I'm, as one student of these ancient Indian philosophy, mainly Nalanda tradition. In the Buddhist tradition, there are two. One Pali tradition, that is now Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, all these countries. They practice, study about Pali tradition. Not much use, reasoning. And then Nalanda tradition, China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Tibet, Mongolia, and some republics in Russian Federation. These are followers of Sanskrit tradition, Nalanda tradition. So Nalanda tradition was extensively used investigation. So myself, a Tibetan, I think among these the people, Chinese, Tibetan, Mongolian, or these, Japan and Korean, Vietnamese, I think in Tibet case, we pay much attention for study. Because 8th century, the Tibetan emperor invited one top philosopher and logician. His name, Shantarakshita, 8th century. He was, I think at that time, the topmost scholar of Nalanda. So Tibetan emperor invited that person, and he taught us the Buddha Dharma, Buddhism, according to Nalanda tradition. So we use extensively logic, investigation. And he himself, great logician and a great philosopher. And since the Indian tradition dealing with mind, emotion, so the psychology, about knowledge about mind, also very rich. So, how many minutes? So then, my own case, you describe the Dalai Lama, 14th Dalai Lama. I consider just a simple Buddhist monk. I am one of the 7 billion human beings. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. So Tibetan quite practical. In ceremony, because I have the name of Dalai Lama, so they put me on throne, high throne. When I carry lesson, they treated me just like as a normal young monk student. So sometimes my tutor showed me threat with whip. You know, I have at that time my tutor kept one whip for me. So that whip, yellow whip. So suppose holy whip, because to whom use that Dalai Lama, so holy person. So whip also should be holy. But I know if holy whip use, no differences of holy pain. So I afraid and carry study with great reluctance. I was a very, very lazy student. But one way, I think most of the lazy students, their brain is quite sharp, so they easily learn. So not need much effort. I belong that group. So in any way, I always describe myself as a student of Nalanda tradition. So since we very much emphasize reasoning, investigation, therefore, since my childhood, I have keen interest about mechanic thing and how it works. And then science. So after I came to India, then new opportunity meeting with scientists and the different also spiritual leaders in India. Then I start dialogue, talk with scientists. Now nearly 40 years. So some people, as you mentioned, some old Tibetan scholars say, be careful. For if too much pay attention for study science, it may damage our sort of own religious tradition. Then I reflect one Buddhist sort of advice. He mentioned, oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So that's a very scientific way. So therefore, and then some Nalanda master, correct? What? No, some Nalanda master rejected some Buddha's own sort of teaching. If you accept this Buddha's teaching, it against reason, and you will find contradiction. Therefore, we must reject particular Buddha's teaching. So there is that kind of sort of tradition there. So I decided, no problem, meeting with scientists. So now over about 40 years, I think our meeting with scientists, so it become mutual learning. To scientists, they say about psychology, about mind, including quantum physics. It's further deeper.
Your Holiness, as coming from the brain research, from biology, I can see many ways when we come close with your thinking where we do nothing else but provide evidence what the brain does when we feel, when we reason, when we make moral judgments. There is a problem, however, from a biological point of view, and I would like to know your judgment, your thinking on this. And that is, you emphasize again and again that we are social animals, and we know that we are not that much different from a rat or from other lower animals who help each other, who live in groups and experience, at least in the animal realm, empathy. They feel when the other animal has pain. They help the other animal when they are in pain. There is a problem, nevertheless, and there I would like to hear you say we have infinite altruism, but from the animal studies and from the human studies, we know that the tendency is that animals and humans prefer to help the closer one feels with it. So one prefers to help members of the family. One prefers to help siblings. A rat would always prefer to help a sibling. So how do we overcome this biological constraint that is an evolutionary bias, if you want? So how do we overcome this? This would be my first.
As I mentioned earlier, we have this intelligence. So firstly, seed of compassion from birth as a biological factor. Then take that seed, then use our intelligence, that compassionate sort of mind is very helpful, very useful. The opposite, hatred, anger, is very harmful. That animal cannot distinction. Only we human beings analyze. So therefore, the human intelligence strengthening, the basic human. So the biological factors of compassion is very limited and very much related with attachment. We have the opportunity, we have the ability to make distinction. Genuine love without attachment and love with attachment make distinction. So therefore, the training of mind, actually we expand our sort of loving kindness. We deliberately try to reduce loving kindness which mixed with attachment. We deliberately reduce that because that becomes obstacle to extend our loving kindness towards our enemy or stranger. So, biased, biased for love or biological, that for practice of infinite love, that becomes hindrance. So we deliberately reduce that. For that, equanimity, practice of equanimity. Here, you visualize, imagine your enemy. Here, your friend. Then, you use sort of mental attitude. Enemy side, you feel a little uncomfortable. Friendly side, the side of your friend, more closer feeling. Then we deliberately try to equalize. This is too much anger, harmful. And too much attachment, also harmful. Both want happiness, do not want suffering. Both have this potential of these good practice. So then, through that way, we can extend our loving kindness towards entire community, then further entire humanity, then further entire sentient being. So my own experience, in some, perhaps some may see some Tibetan, Tanga, some wrathful deities. So I publicly also now mentioning such sort of teaching, such tantric sort of practice, which mentions wrathful deity. Firstly, I think the tantric teaching itself, tantric
teachings are meant for specified teachings tailored for specific disciplines. Follows.
Sutra Tabajize.
And Sutrayana, which is the general teaching, shows the basic basic.
Get just louder.
It's already.
So tantric teachings or the esoteric teachings are specialized teachings which are meant tailored for specific disciples with specific physiological structures and predispositions and so forth, whereas Sutrayana, which is a general teaching, is meant for general, the foundational teachings of the Buddha.
So, I mainly the experience, mainly through practice of the
So my approach mainly is from the sutra point of view, which is meant for general public.
So entire sentient being, as a result, some experience here, and I think sentient being, all my friend, no one as a negative force. So sometimes I sarcastically mention these wrathful deities. I have one sort of story. One Japanese who visited Tibet, just after that visit, he came to see me. And then he mentioned to me the Buddha's teaching based on compassion. However, in some temple in Tibet, there is wrathful deities there. So one night, after seeing these wrathful deity, he lost his sleep. Too much fear. And he asked me why Buddha's teaching is compassionate sort of teaching than this wrathful deity. So like that, one particular sort of individual may be some useful. Otherwise, through training, you have the feeling, entire sentient being, including so-called these kasajoti,
Enemies.
negative kasara,
Negative
goes away,
laws. Spirits.
goes on the spirit. These also sentient beings. If you show them your love, they also respond. So then, through that way, you see, according to my own daily experience or practice, I have no enemy, including spirit or bad spirit.
No, negative spirits, evil spirits.
Everything. One quotation, Gyurda. 다기트링 껴버 탐지기 장을 로 대신이다네 발도 될런 정도 벌써지 산도 설명나서 가와르기 송도.
So Master Shantideva in his Bodhisattvacharya Avatara says, today I actually call on everyone in front of the Buddhas to the feast of Buddhahood, enlightenment, as well as in the meantime, higher rebirths and so forth. And so therefore, everyone be happy.
So very good, such practice. So it is possible, step by step, our mental attitude can change. As a result, you feel much happier. No source of fear, nothing. Like that. I think it's good, no? No questions.
Yes, so you gave me several answers actually, and I would like to continue on this point.
Now, the mind or consciousness, it is important to know the sensorial level consciousness. Compassion, even anger, with sixth mind, not sensorial level. Brain also. Now sensorial consciousness mainly depend on these front area.
Prefrontal, the frontal areas, yes.
So what called mandala or something. Mandala.
Yes,
Or usually see anger, attachment, you see develop.
I understand.
So then, quite simple, I think, when we deep sleep, these brain completely rest, but anger can develop, can experience, in particularly dreaming, similarly attachment. So these combined with mental state, not sensorial level. So now when we say training of our mind is mental state, not sensorial thing.
I understand. So that brings exactly what you said to the next question. And by the way, so during sleep, our brain does not rest. During sleep, there is a repetition of what happened before. So in fact, during sleep...
That's not necessary. Some people, dream, have the experience.
Yes,
You
yes.
see, in dream, one my friend, when he reached Dharamsala, in his previous dream, when he was still in Tibet, he actually dreamt whole valley of Dharamsala. So when he reached Dharamsala, at the beginning he felt, oh, I have been here.
Déjà vu. Yes.
So this is not memory of past, but you see, seeing future.
That is in the future. Exactly. We know that during sleep this happens, that we go back to the past and that we go in the future. But you pointed in your speech, you pointed out something very, very important. I mean, that we can learn, that we can still train, and brain scientists know that. We can meditate in different kinds, and we can augment cognition, emotion, and attention. And those brain areas will change. However, my question to you is now, we know that the brain has, for every capacity, a critical period. So emotion, actually a child experiences right after birth, as you say, and if the first 2 years do not provide what is necessary, this capacity, a critical period closes, and it's very difficult to turn the wheel back. And when it comes to what you pay lots of attention in your speech, and which I am a great believer in, and that is that we can train our cognitive abilities, because the prefrontal cortex develops until late adolescence. But if this critical period is closed, it is also very, very, very difficult to train as, efficiently. So we have to start very early. We have to start very early in order to achieve more of emotion and compassion training.
Right? Now, one sort of phenomena, after death, the heart beating stop, then blood circulation to brain stop. Then very soon, the brain dead. And now, I think several cases in India as well as in Tibet and some different part of the world, so who have some practitioner, some not practitioner. Clinically, after death, body remain very fresh, including my own tutor after clinically dead. But next 13 days, his physical remain very fresh. No smell, no sign of kasa. decaying. And then some cases, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The longest, I think, 4 weeks. So now scientists, there's no explanation. So one, our friend, one great scientist, brain specialist, Richard Davidson of Wisconsin University. Now he already start one project to investigate such case, and some simple equipment also now remain in Dharamsala. Whenever we got information, someone after the death, body still remain fresh. Then I send a message. Then concerned people go to the place, and some wire also used to put on dead bodies, brain. So these are something phenomena. Now we have also the explanation is like that. The mind, the sensory level mind, no grosser, subtle or not much, just consciousness or depend on organs. Then sixth mind, dream time, little less, more subtler. Then deep sleep, even more subtler. The faint, even deeper level. Then at the time of dying, deepest. So the subtle consciousness still in the body. So soul, these, you see, they're not related with brain. Brain already dead because blood circulation stopped. But body remain fresh because innermost subtle mind still in the body. So, like that.
That is a dualist position. That is a dualist position, Your Holiness.
Now we have a different subject. We go to the night sky.
So let me say a few sentences. Till later part of 20th century, the scientists simply brain. Beside brain, no such consciousness or something. Now, later part of 20th century, as an experiment, through training of meditation, some impact our brain, because of plasticity.
Brain plasticity.
We're
talking about brain plasticity.
Right.
Or through meditation, some change. So there must be something which affect our brain. So now, later part of 20th century, now some scientists begin to feel, oh, there is something. We need further investigation.
I would agree. I would certainly agree. So we see, of course, the brain grow.
Thank you very much. I think consciousness is a very good subject for both traditions and to learn a lot from Buddhist tradition. But there is the cosmologist. Professor Bartelmann.
Your Holiness, my field is fundamental physics. I'm working in cosmology. And I can, first of all, confirm that the world is not flat.
What's that?
This...
Correct? Oh, this is okay.
The pursuit of this kind of apparently purposeless knowledge is a source of immense happiness for individuals. And I'm wondering, do you think it is a responsible activity?
The
My question is, since the the pursuit of purposeless, apparently purposeless knowledge gives immense pleasure to individual people, gives immense happiness. Do you think it is also a responsible activity to do?
I think every sentient being, including insects, they love their life. So they take care of their existence. So then we human beings, certainly, we love our life, love ourselves. So they want, they survive as much as possible. So now that, no need any argument or any reason. Now, on that basis, since you want a healthy body, you want healthy mind, therefore you should pay some attention about training of mind, and similarly, physical exercise. Basic question is, you see, we love ourselves. So if you truly love yourself, and you should take care, not only your body, but also now, obviously, too much mental too much emotion, very harmful for our health. So as I mentioned earlier, not talking about next life, not talking about heaven, but simply day-to-day life, happy. So then you use various reasons, mainly scientific findings. Usually I do that.
So this would be the perspective of an individual pursuing science. And I'm wondering what you think the role of fundamental science for society is, and what it would be for a healthy society.
I think science is the source of knowledge, scientific research, really trying to find the reality. So as I mentioned earlier, till the later part of the 20th century, the scientists mainly pay attention about matters. Now, the later part of the 20th century, brain specialists, now they begin to pay more attention about the so-called consciousness or mind. So now this 21st century is continuation of that century. So I think, you see, scientists, for their own sort of knowledge, not only external matters, but also internal world. So, see, when I sort of participate, meeting with scientists, I usually used to say that our meeting, two purposes. One purpose, simply expand our knowledge. Up to later part of 20th century, the science just pay attention about matters, particles, which can measure, which can test. Now, later part of 20th century, now begin to start curiosity. What is consciousness? What is mind? So this continuously, you see, now carry. I have one sort of story. One occasion in Japan, one brain specialist, I think one Nobel, I think laureate or something, about science. So I when we met, he simply, you see, beside the brain, existence of mind, he do not believe that. But meantime, recent days, his son passed away. So a lot of worry. If this worry related with brain only, then operate brain. Then worry no longer there. See, he does not accept mind, such as mind, beside the brain. He does not accept that. But he himself experiencing that. So now today, people, the explanation, or the second purpose of our meeting is the world passing through too much emotion problem. So through religious or through Eastern sort of philosophy, may not sort of cover entire humanity. Now science is the whole world believes science. So scientific finding, through scientific finding, based on scientific finding, we can teach people peace of mind is important. Like that.
In your address in the beginning, you mentioned the importance of the moral principle.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, what moral principle should science apply both in the acquisition of knowledge and in the passing of knowledge to the next generations?
그래서 Now there, this is through scientists, through scientific sort of finding, as I mentioned earlier, more compassionate mind, very useful for their health. And the scientists also, as I mentioned earlier, that Japanese scientist, a lot of worry because his son passed away. So think altruistic, others' well-being. See, your mind become more wider. Same problem, if you sort of facing problem, same problem, look, only that problem appears unbearable. Same problem, look from a wider perspective. Same problem, but your mental level, it's okay, one problem, but okay. So therefore, these, scientifically, we can explain. And mainly, as I mentioned earlier, because of the medical scientists, they're very useful, very useful. So in order to promote the happy world, compassionate world, the others are what's the education, nationalism, and because on the basis of I, self-centered attitude in education. Usually, you see, we get such sort of education there. I think a problem, I feel, human nature, more compassionate. But once we join education, in education, also they not much sort of pay attention about this inner value, only brain. And then smart brain eventually become disposal of anger, hatred, jealousy, self-centered attitude. So now, scientists, I think, should speak more. You see, the warm-heartedness brings your body element more calm. If you see religious basis, telling these things. Then, out of 7 billion, over 1 billion non-believer. So these people say, oh, that's religious talk. I'm non-believer. So no relevant. But if through scientific way to explain wholeheartedness, and firstly, see, even selfish, taking care maximum your own health. It's a scientific sort of, on the basis of scientific finding, really convincing. That's my view. What do you think?
I'm wondering, listening to what you just said, I'm wondering, do you think that humility is an important aspect of the pursuit of science and of teaching science?
Kasa? Correct. What?
Humility, whether humility.
Humility, yes. I think first day of birth, mother smiling, although language not yet developed, but emotionally, biologically, the tremendous love between mother and child. So these are, we are social animal, biological factor. The child's survival depends entirely on mother's care. So now today, individual, because of survival of individual happily depend on the community. No matter how powerful one individual put in a remote area, lonely, she or he cannot survive without human community. No power, no human being can survive. We are social animals. So therefore, it is extremely important, community. So we should know that my survival, my future depend on the community. So take care about the community as much as take care yourself, because your happiness, your successful, ultimately your survival depend on the society. Now, nations level, Germany is very tough. German people, hard working. I think from ashes of Second World War, you rose, very successful. But you are part of the Europe, so it is really wonderful, very realistic. You are the leading nation of European Union. Wonderful. Now, further sort of, looking further, the whole world, one sort of community. Eastern world depend West. Western world depend East. Similarly, North and South. And the global economy, no national boundary. And then global warming, quite serious. No differences, different continent, different nation. So now time comes. We should think, global level, we should think about whole humanity. So that's, this is not based on religious belief, but reality. That's the reality. Like that.
Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Do you have some argument?
Sorry?
Do you have some argument?
No. I'm very grateful for what you said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Your Holiness, you have recently celebrated, a few weeks ago, you celebrated your birthday.
Oh, yes.
And we have a specialist here on stage who deals with the science or the research of age.
Age.
So, here, Professor Kruse.
Your Holiness, please let me first express my heartfelt gratitude to have the possibility, to have the chance to address 3 questions to you.
Yes.
3. In order to have a good schedule. In order to have a good schedule, 3 questions. The first is, you have introduced a couple of terms which I love. Happiness
Oh, yes.
and responsibility. And my question is, in how far there is an interconnection between these terms, the term of happiness and the term of responsibility. And I think that there is a term or a concept which is very important in bringing together both aspects, that means happiness and responsibility, and this is meaning. In the last century, the very prominent psychologist and neurologist Viktor Frankl has published a book with the title Man's Search for Meaning. And my question to you is, in how far it is good to keep into mind this concept of meaning when bringing together happiness on the one hand and responsibility on the other hand. Because I think meaning is a very important intrinsic motivation. I look for meaning, and in case I have perceived meaning in my world or sense in my world, I feel happy. And the next point is that I can experience meaning, especially in those situations in which I can take responsibility for other people. And that is why my question is, what in your concept is a position of meaning? And you have made strong in your speech that it is necessary to bring together thinking and feeling. And I think meaning incorporates both aspects, thinking and meaning.
Looks like a philosophical question. What's the meaning? Oh. So if we raise question, why we are here? No answer.
Perhaps because we...
That's why you see the religion come, particularly theistic religion. You see, when we face some mysterious thing, then the simple answer is God. God creates. Then, like Buddhism and Jainism and so on, no concept of creator. Then, why we are here? Why whole world exists? Then we say karma.
It is said.
Yep. It's working.
It's said in one of the scriptures, the varieties or the multiplicity of the world systems emerge from or come from karma.
Not only this world, the limitless galaxies, and within one galaxy, there are billions of worlds. That's according to the ancient sort of literature. It mentioned like that, including Buddhism. So sentient being, limitless. But now you see, kasa,
Meaning.
ka, meaning. What is the meaning of this water? Just fill it. So, not necessary philosophical explanation. Simply drink. Now, take care, other responsibility. I think that even animal, as soon as they are youngsters born, you see, out of sense of concern of their well-being, their sense of responsibility come together. Take care. Yep. Taking care itself come with sense of responsibility. Mm-hmm. So now today, as I mentioned earlier, taking care about the whole community and finally whole world, then the sense of responsibility automatically come. Try to make as much as you can some contribution for a better world, happier world, peaceful world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. May I continue my question?
Yes?
With the second question. We devote, in our institute, in analyzing principles of successful aging.
What's that? Oh, yes.
We devote to the concept of responsibility in the following sense, that we find a lot of older or very old people always making strong. It is necessary for us to take care of, for example, younger people, to take care of our society. It is necessary for us to realize in some sense our motive of responsibility, and only in case you are able to take responsibility for other people, for example, for younger people, you will find sense in your life, you will find meaning, you will find a lot of impulses in your life. But now we have one problem in our country. When becoming frail,
become cancer. Ah, yes.
When suffering, for example, from neurodegenerative diseases, for example, dementia,
yes,
then in our society it is very complicated to have some areas in which you can take care of other people. Very often you are excluded from participation. That is one of the tremendous cultural problems in our country. On the one hand, to be confronted with people suffering from chronic disease, and on the other hand, to see that those people is in some sense excluded from our culture, excluded from our public space. And my question is, could you give us a recommendation regarding the question how to include people suffering from chronic disease, how to make them able to take responsibility?
I think these are the result of too much materialistic thinking. The very education, as I already mentioned, the so-called modern education, very much oriented about material value. So then, old people no longer productive.
Yeah.
So then you see, in the society, now you reach your age, now the age retirement, then I think the people who always think money, 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 salary, salary.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
then
Yes.
even I think family, the old parent, no longer productive. But still, they need food. So the younger generation in the family, they have to feed these unproductive old people. I think too much materialistic thinking. You see, the very purpose of material thing is to support our life. So we must respect older generation. When we, because of the old age, physically also now cannot work, then the younger people have the moral responsibility to serve them, to look after them. Because we are social animal. Like that, I think we too much. I think in education field, I think should include about moral teaching these things, not talking religion, but simply how to create happy society.
I think that is necessary that we will come, and that corresponds with your answer. I think we should come to a much more comprehensive understanding of productivity, respectively of creativity. That means not only to focus on the material forms of productivity, but for example, also focusing on the social, emotional forms of productivity or creativity. Yes.
True.
I have a third question.
Yes.
And I wanted to introduce this question with a very good quotation of your words. It is under the greatest adversity that there exists the greatest potential for doing good, both for oneself and others.
Yes.
I like this statement very much because I think it does express wisdom, but there is a second reason why I like it so much. We have had a philosopher and psychiatrist in our university in the last century, one of the most prominent philosophers and psychiatrists around the world, Karl Jaspers, who has introduced in his philosophy the concept of border situation. Border, B-O-R-D, or limit situation. That means a situation which he has characterized as follows. For example, the situation of having lost the spouse, having lost a very close friend, or the border situation of impending death. And he has characterized the border situation in the following way. We can't change a border situation by thinking or by planning. But it is necessary to bring a border situation to clarity by our existence or by our essence, existence. And one of the most important preconditions of being able to bring a border situation to clarity by my existence is that I experience a very good, a very deep communication, and that resembles your concept of harmony, your concept of compassion, and your concept of responsibility. My question is, how would you interpret the statement of Karl Jaspers?
그래서 저. I mean, border somewhere. Border is the comparative.
The concept itself is something which we call, the concept itself, the border situation, is something which is designated, designated phenomena.
As a border, compare other galaxies, our own border, this galaxy is Milky Way. Then, border of our planet, yes. Then one's own continent, one's own, nation. And then finally, your own community, your own family. Then ultimately, all these designated according where you are. You are the center of the whole universe. So then border, one border, wider border. The border is a fixed shakim.
So there is no, there's nothing which is fixed as something as border.
So I think one famous Buddhist philosopher, they say nothing independent existence, everything designated. So finally, you designate something, a border, this border, this border. No independent border.
That is why Karl Jaspers has written, you have to bring clarity of the border situation through your existence. And that means that you are able to feel or to experience something of eternity. That means transcending each form of border.
Still not very clear for me, but okay. I think it's your question. Your question looks like a philosophical question. Then there is no, definition said.
Nothing is, fixed as being this or that.
Oh, everything. Compare this, this is big. Compare this is small. Like that. No independent thing. And you and me also designated.
No.
From your viewpoint, you are not you, but I. My viewpoint, I'm I. So, which is true? Everything relative. no independent existence. Like time, we usually say, do you think time exists or not?
It's one of the most complicated questions, which we are discussing very often.
Then, generally we accept time. So, time always moving.
Yes.
So, past, future, present. Now the question is, where is present?
But do we have past and do we have future? Do we not always live in the present?
Now the question, you see, complicated thing. You see, without present, we can't sort of say past and future.
Yes.
But if we investigate where is present, no. Present century, present decade, present year, month, hour, week, hour, day, and hour, minute, second, half past, half future. Where is present?
In my experiencing.
Your experience, memory come from past.
Absolutely. But in my actually experiencing,
So
that
the
is present.
present sort of experiencing, not yet developed memory. So there's memory, so we can say past.
Yeah,
But present, where is present?
We won't solve it. We won't solve it today.
Kaza.
But Your Holiness sort of emphasized that you do not want exclusively questions from the stage. You want the people here to raise their questions. Now, we have, in order to give a lot of people a chance, we have asked them to send in questions.
Okay.
We have chosen 5.
Okay.
We could give more, but just in case you love to have it spontaneously, there is a microphone on each side.
Oh, yes.
And you can actually also get those if these people are ready by that time. I just want to raise you one question. It's a person with the name of Heike Nettelbeck, and she asked the following. Many people's professional lives are quite demanding, both with regards to energy and time, as well as emotionally. It is very important to me to express empathy towards my fellow human beings. At the same time, I'm beginning to realize more and more that I must distance myself and deny some requests for help simply to sometimes conserve my strength. How can I behave emotionally responsible while at the same time considering my own wishes and finite capacities?
The precise meaning. I think the good or bad, or right or wrong, as I mentioned earlier, is we have to judge from a wider perspective. Some, for immediate, maybe looks harmful, but wider perspective, long-term helpful. So then we have to choose the long-term benefit. So similarly, as I mentioned earlier, things are not absolute. Comparatively, compare this is good. Compare this bad. So there's no absolute. So now, feeling is something, you see, because of the, we actually experience joyfulness and pain. So without any explanation, where is pain? Where is joyful? And divided time, past, present, future. Without these things, simply pain, joyful. So everyone used to want joyful, happy life. So the questioner, you see, you carry your own sort of work, and then sometimes, in spite of your desire to help more, there is limitations. So then, the mental attitude, try to help other. That mental attitude should keep. Whether can implement or not, different matter.
Okay. Second question by a lady with the name of Ursula Wörle. Regarding the idea of happiness for all people, for a person living in Syria or any other war zone, someone who must fight for survival every day of his or her life, be it due to hunger, torture, or persecution, what does such a person have to be happy about or grateful for?
That's very difficult now, very difficult. If some individual, one individual who have sort of many years training, then something different. But then community, as a public, very difficult, very difficult. Only thing, we have to work to bring peace in this area. Otherwise, Yemen, for example, millions of children dying. A soldier who have weapon, then killing, dying. It's anyway understandable. Then these young children, due to lack of facility, dying. Unthinkable. Now today's world is very, very sad. Therefore, we must make every effort to bring or to create this 21st century should be a peaceful century, should not repeat 20th century's event, killing, killing, killing. So I think we need worldwide movement to turn this century should be peaceful century. Peaceful does not mean no longer any problem. Problem there. The method dealing with problem, not use weapon, but through talk. So usually I sort of describing this 21st century should be century of dialogue. Whenever disagreement there, through talk, try to solve, not use weapon. And then we really need sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Those Muslims, Actually, Allah created whole world. To Christian, God created entire world. So think seriously that. And how can kill each other? Actually, all are children of one God, one Father. So these people, although they always say Allah, 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 they truly believe Allah. There are some Muslim friends told me, Muslim practitioner must extend love towards entire creature of Allah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So like that, I think we really need a lot of work, a lot of effort to bring peaceful world. Not sufficient just pray, pray, pray. Work and program, systematic sort of, or say mainly through education.
Now there's a third question by Rita Schoch. About 1 million Rohingya Muslims had to flee Myanmar due to atrocities by radical Buddhists and now live in camps in inhumane conditions. Why does the Dalai Lama not issue a call to his fellow believers to cease these actions?
I should be realistic. I asked Aung San Suu Kyi about this problem. And Aung San Suu Kyi herself find some difficulties. I'm outsider. Of course, fellow Buddhist, we are same Buddhist. But even Aung San Suu Kyi cannot do much. Then me, I also, you see, in prayer and talk, teaching, I can express these things. The actual work, there is limitation. I should be more scientific-minded, so I should be realistic. So very complicated. I think these, when I first heard the Burmese Muslim suffer or attacked by Buddhist monk, I was in Washington. One Time magazine, the Kasho, front cover, one Buddhist picture, Buddhist monk, and then describe Buddhist terrorist. I really shocked. Then I express, those Buddhist monks should imagine each Muslim shoulder Buddha there. If Buddha reappear on such occasion, he definitely support these Muslims. So we are follower of Buddha. So we should think that way. I express. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I also try to, try to Aung San Suu Kyi make more effort. But she herself finds difficulties. But these, I think, cause and effect. There's famous ancient Indian sort of concept. No God, no creator, but cause and effect, cause and effect. Today's, the climate also is a cause previous century. That previous century, like that. That's, we say, law of causality. So this problem, I think many decades, they consult people careless and not pay much attention. So time passes, these causes become more active. Then result come. Difficult. So only thing is, now, how to prevent future, not like this kind of thing come. So again, education and more effort, harmonies, more effort for work for harmony. So one of my commitment is try to promote religious harmony. So I have full confidence, religious harmony is possible. India is example. Over billion populated nation, India, all major world religious tradition live together. Past is past. Like Buddha Gaya and many Buddhist center destroyed by Muslim. But today we live very harmoniously. So, and then in India, Shia and Sunni, we never heard a problem. But now Syria, Afghanistan, and some Muslim countries, Shia and Sunni killing each other. Follow of same God, Allah, same teacher, Muhammad, same Quran, 5-time prayer daily. But just small differences killing each other. Terrible, really terrible. So, recently I requested to Indian Muslim, they should make some effort, you see, to closer relation, to bring closer relation between Shia and Sunni. So now, soon, Indian Muslim can convene some meeting. Firstly, national level, then gradually international level. India is example. So therefore, these are really terrible. And Muslim and Buddhist in Burma. The other day, I saw one sort of was a documentary film. Documentary film. Some Burmese monk explained with sort of strong sort of anger. So once too much emotion develops, then the very sort of, I think the brain which we usually used to develop because of the unbiased. With unbiased, then we can use human intelligence properly. Our basic mind, too much biased, too much anger, then human intelligence cannot function properly, cannot utilize properly. So now this area, too much emotion. So now only thing is, now past, we can't do. We cannot change. Now future, we should pay more attention through education, how to develop more compassionate person and more knowledge about this destructive emotion. Otherwise, difficult, very difficult.
Thank you very much. I think we have used our time properly. We have been infected by your optimism, and we shall certainly follow your recommendation. The outside world is complex, and there are not only, if you talk about education, there are not only the good educators, there are also those who tempt us into a different direction. So we are very happy that you also gave us some homework to do. The sciences will certainly open and respect your tradition, and they may expand in their understanding of the phenomenon they daily deal with. I think something, a rather crucial aspect of everything you are saying is whether sustainability will be sort of the result of your activity. I think that's a very crucial issue, and I know that you are, in terms of punctuality, almost of a German kind of human being. That's why we are in time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to Heidelberg.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, okay. Indeed. Thank you. So, you do. Okay. Now, according to law of causality, cause and also experience happiness, joyfulness, suffering, you see, much depend on our action. So prayer, effect limited. Action really brings result. Negative action, harmful action brings negative result. So in order to develop happy world, from where we start? Individual. So, individual level, try to become compassionate, happy person. And not only like professor, their sort of talk is very complicated. So human being, not like other animals. We need these complicated explanation. Then, you see, you get more conviction. Very important. But the philosophical thinking or these just remain there, not much useful. Much sort of related with action. So now, change world. Firstly, start one individual, then 10 person, then 100 person, then 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. That's the way. So each of us. I also is thinking the well-being of 7 billion humanity, and I feel, then another way I feel I am just one human being. But then, start these things. Start from one individual. Go like that. So now here, few hundred people. You, each of us, or each of you, also have the opportunity, you see, to start better world, compassionate world. Okay. So please think, keep in your mind. And then should not too much sort of worry and relax. And sometimes picnic. Good. Not too much wine. It spoils our intelligence, isn't it? A little wine, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Come. Okay. Thank you.